genitalia. It's a longer word, sometimes. It's made of 3 parts. The first part is gen, is from the word gene, it's what makes up living things. The second part is it, which is a word we sometimes use to describe our thingies. And the third part is alia. Alia is a Latin word which means other things. So therefore genitalia means other living things that look like pricks. So therefore genitalia means traffic cop. My new word used in a sentence. Last night my dad got pulled off by the genitalia. That reminds me, the second part of my homework was to write a speech about somebody in my family. So I wrote a speech about my dad. It goes like this. My Dad by Etienne Shardlow. My dad is very tall. He is 6'7". I will always look up to him. Last week my dad was very brave. He went to Johannesburg. He went there to a nightclub to do a special dance called a mosh. While he was doing this dance, he had an epileptic fit, and they gave him 750 rand, first prize. Sometimes when I do something stupid, my dad calls me a wanker. But my dad says there's nothing wrong with wanking. He says he's going to start a support group for wankers. He says they should stand up for their rights and their lefts. My dad says that they should pull together as one. Recently it was school holidays. My dad took us to Durban. Durban is a lot like South Africa. Except there's a sea of Indian people. My dad says it's called the Indian Ocean. So while we were in Durban, we went to an Indian restaurant. My dad ordered some curry, and then halfway through his curry, my dad decided that he needed some spice. So I asked him to bring Sheikh Aramat, and they brought in the owner. And our food took a long time to come, and then when the waitress brought my dad's food, she said to my dad, she's terribly sorry for the wait. And my dad says, don't worry about it, you're not that fat. So next time we go on holiday, my dad says he's going to take us to Cape Town, because my dad says Cape Town's really, really beautiful, and it's going to be famous because they're building a World Cup soccer stadium there in a place called Greenpoint. My mum says Greenpoint's a disease you get from hookers. But my dad says it's okay because there's no hookers in soccer, only rugby. My dad also says that Cape Town might be the most beautiful space in the whole of South Africa. He says, in fact, it might even be the G-spot of South Africa. But my mum says it can't be. My mum says Thabo Mbeki is the G-spot of South Africa. Because nobody ever knows where to find him. So anyway, we had to leave Cape Town to go on holiday. We had to go back to Johannesburg because my dad had a job interview. So anyway, when we got back to Johannesburg, my dad decided he was going to take us to the most exciting places around Johannesburg as well. So he took us to Lion Park, Because my dad says we mustn't be scared of lions, because lions are just big pussies. My mum says so are the blue bulls. So my mum and dad had a big fight, and then when they finished fighting, my mum sent me to a shop to buy her a cucumber. And then when I got back home, my dad was waiting for me by the front door with a big knife, and he made me chop it into slices before I gave it to her. So anyway, the reason we had to come back was because my dad had a job interview, and it was quite strange because my dad says the first question his new boss asked him was, "How is your Zulu?" And my dad said, "Well, he's very good in the garden, but he drinks too much." And the weird thing what happened was, when we got back from our holiday, the first thing we noticed was the tin roof was missing off our house. And we found some squatters that turned our tin roof into a shack in the back garden. And my dad was very, very brave. He just went up to the squatters and he said to them the same thing he always says to me. He said, "So long as you live under my roof." And they fucked off. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Bye.